structure in this course. This course is going to basically cover HTML, and this is our first course on HTML, and it's going to be HTML5, and that is the 5th version of HTML and the current version. So first and foremost, what's even the meaning of HTML? HTML is a short form of hypertext markup language. It is used to build websites. So every website you see, its framework or its structure, its building is made of HTML codes. So why do you even need to learn HTML? Maybe you can Google. Just open your search engine, and then you ask the question, why do I need to learn HTML? HTML is very essential for every programmer who wants to engage in web development. Because without HTML, you can't actually learn other programming languages that you may need in your web development process. So that is why this course is very necessary and important, and you must take it serious, because this is your beginning and your starting point in your career in web development. So when you learn this course and grasp it, have it at your fingertips, then the rest of the work becomes easy, because all that you'll be learning in other programming languages in your web development courses will basically based on HTML. They'll all be featuring into what? HTML. So for the sake of this course, we'll be using the VS Code editor. And then a code editor is simply a software that can render, or that can understand the code that we are going to write and then render it on a browser for us. So for the sake of this course, we'll be using the VS Code, which is short for Visual Studio Code. But you can be free to use your own code editor like Atom and other code editors that you can talk of. So you can just go into your search engine and then you type code editors, and then when you code editors for HTML, then you can select your choice of code editors. We have code editors for Mac machines, Windows, Android, and so on. And then later in this course, there will even be a tutorial on how to select code editors. But for now, let's keep that aside and deal with the introduction, so that we will know what we are doing and where we are going. And that is just the purpose of this course. So now, this is my VS Code. So if you have it, just launch it, and then when you launch it, at first this is how the window will look like. If you don't have it, go into your search engine and search for VS Code or Visual Studio Code, and then you add /download, so that you can easily download the latest version of VS Code for this course. So when you are done with that, you can come back and let's continue with the tutorial. So for those who are already in, before we can start, we need to create a file where we can write all our codes inside, and that file will definitely be contained in a folder. So first of all, let's click on this extension here, and then I've already opened a folder. But if you don't have a folder, you can come here and click on open folder to take you to your folders. You select the folder you want, and then you open it. If you don't have a folder right now, you just have to right click on the empty space and select new. So when you select new, you'll be able to create a folder, and then you can select that folder where you will create all your files on. But for now, we are going to use this folder called HTML, which I've already created for this course. So open it, and then here we are. So first and foremost, we need to create a file inside this folder where our code will be written on. So I'm going to name that file index.html. Okay, here we are. And then why the extension .html? See that I've added an extension to the file name called .html, and that the .html is basically to specify that the file is an HTML file, so that when you are rendering it on any browser, the browser will know that, oh, this is an HTML file. Else you are only writing a piece of text and it's not an HTML file. So every HTML file must have the extension .html. But for the root name, you can decide to use any name of your choice. But I have decided to use index, because when you use index, the browser knows that that is the home page of your website. So you easily and quickly render that page as your home page. So for now, let's stick to the index. But as I told you earlier, you can select any name. You can even use your own name, maybe Michael Bonnie.html or whatever name you want to select for that web page. So that is it. So now let's write our first program and see how it looks like. So for now, I'm not going to explain some of the tags for now, but I just want to use a very simple extension here and get all the tags. And then I want to say, maybe let's greet the world. Let's say hello. Hello world, okay. Yeah. And save it. So after we save it, then if you want to render this now on a browser, then you simply have to come to the file at your right side here and right click on it. When you right click on it, okay, then you come and select reveal in Explorer. Okay, so it has been revealed in Explorer. Then you just have to come and open it to be opened on a browser. That is your default browser. My default browser is Chrome, Google Chrome. That's why it's been opened on Chrome. So it will definitely be open on your default browser. So this is the content that has been rendered on our page, hello world. And that's how every web page starts with. We start with these basic things, and then we build complex systems that we do see in our websites like Google, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and so on. They are all built based on what? HTML. And this is how it all starts. So now I want to close it and also show you an extension in VS Code called Live Server. So when you come to this icon here, you see that it is called what? Extensions. So when you click on it, then you can search for the extension you want. And the extension I'm talking of here is called Live Server. Okay, so it's called Live Server. So you can search for Live Server and then you install it into your VS Code. Then you should make sure that you are connected to the internet so that when you search, it will automatically load and you just install it into your VS Code editor. So, but I already have it on my editor, so I will simply collapse that panel and then right click on the text or the document, and then you select on open with Live Server, and then it will automatically open it for me. Yeah, here we are. So now one beauty about the Live Server is that when you install Live Server on your VS Code, anytime you make changes to your document and then you save it, it will automatically be refreshed on your browser. You don't have to manually go to the browser again and then you come and be clicking on refresh every time. Anytime you save the document on VS Code, it will automatically be rendered here. So let me just try that for you to see. So let me toggle the windows like this. Okay. So let me just add something here. Call. Let me collapse it small so that we can see it happen on our browser. Okay. And this is our browser. Okay. So I can just add something here called. Let me say. Hello. No, we have just said hello. So maybe this time we are saying hi. Okay. In caps. And then let's save it. You see that I don't need to come and refresh the page before it loads on the browser. So all this is because of what the Live Server extension I installed. So let's expand it again and then we continue. So now I think for now we are done with the brief introduction of the course. Next we'll be dealing with the tags. In the next course we are going to explain each of these tags and what they are doing and what they mean and how they help us render our code on the browser. So for now I think the introduction is very brief and I hope you have grasped something. So if you have any question or anything that you don't understand, you want to clarify, please just go to the comment section So in this lesson, we are going to talk about code editors. So how do you choose a code editor for this program? Now HTML files are written on HTML editors, and we call them code editors. And some of these are, we have Notepad++. We also have text editor. We have Notepad itself, that is already on your computer. We also have Sublime text editor. We have Atom, and we have Visual Studio Code, and that's what we are going to use in this course. So we also have brackets. We have Decoder for Android, and this app is used for Android phones. So those of you who will be using Android phones, you can go and download this app. It's called Decoder for Android. We also have Quick Edit for Android phones. So there's also another code editor called Quick Edit, and it's used by Android phones. So you can also download that one. We also have HTML editor for Android. So this is also another Android editor for the Android phone users. So we have Coder for Android. So we have about 4 Android editors for you. So you can choose from any of them if you are using an Android phone, or else just stick to the desktop applications. That's either VS Code or Atom. Okay. So there are many, there are countless. You can Google for more. So in this course, for the purpose of this course, we are going to be using VS Code, but you are free to choose any code editor of your choice. You can pick any code editor among all the code editors I have listed. Then just feel free to use it. The difference won't be too much, but you just have to apply and cope up, or else just stick to the VS Code that we're using in this course. So now, note, every HTML file must be saved with an HTML extension. So in this course, you see that all our extensions we'll be saving are always what? .html. So the .html extension is very important to specify that a file is what? An HTML file. So for example, you can have index.html, you can have page1.html, you can have page2.html, and so on. Okay, so how do you save your document after editing it or after typing your code? So this is how you save it. So you click on the menu at the top left hand side, and then you click on Files. So when you click on Files, you see what? Save or Save As. So you can select Save As or Save. So you select Save. When you select Save, it will just pick some few letters of the beginning and save it for you, or else when you should go to what? Save As, so that you can specify a name for it and save. So you also have what? Name your file. So when you pick Save As, then you have to give your file a name, and then you save it. Okay, so after giving your file a name, just press enter, and then your HTML file is now saved. So thank you, and let's see you in the next call. Welcome back. In this course, we are going to learn about HTML tags. So we are going to start from the first tag, and the first tag, that is document type, which is HTML. And now the document type declares that the document that we are working on is an HTML document. So the tag here is just there to simply declare that the document that we are working on is an HTML document. And then when we take the second tag, we have the HTML tag itself and its closing tag. So the HTML tag encloses all the other content of the document inside it. So let's say it is the parent tag that encloses all the document, because when you take it, it encloses the head tag and the body tag. So it is the parent tag. It's a container that encloses both the header tag and then the body tag. Now when we take the header tag also contains elements like meta tags and titles, and sometimes links. So the header tag only contain elements that are not rendered on the page. So all that we are going to put on the head tag here will not be rendered on the web page. They are only there for functionality purpose. Okay, now let's move to the title tag. The title tag is also another tag inside the head tag, but it only contains the title of what our document or our web page. So anytime we load this page on a web browser, it's going to pick this information here called document and render it as our title. So let's type something here. Let's say our first title. Okay, and then we save it. Then okay, as you can see that the title of the web page here is called what? Our first title. So the title is for rendering the title of our web page on the browser, and that's why we have it here. Okay, now let's move to the body tag. The body tag contains all the content that's going to be displayed on the browser as our web page. For example, when we go back to the browser, you can see that all the content here is going to be contained in the body tag. So that will include images, videos, and in fact, when you open maybe google.com or youtube.com, and all the content you see that you can interact with, they are all hosted in the body tag, and that is the purpose of the body tag. Now, when you take the body tag also have other elements in it. When you take the body tag, it also have other elements in it, like the header. We have the header, we have paragraphs, we have spans, we have, in fact, a lot, image tags, and so on. And then we are going to explore about each of them later in this course. So when we take the body tag, we can have other tags like paragraph, that we can enter a paragraph text into this tag, and it's going to create them paragraph by paragraph. And then we can also have maybe this. Okay, we can also have this. Okay, we can also have, in fact, there are many, but we are going to explore into them one after the other later in this course. But for now, we just need the introductory aspect. So the body tag contains other elements as I've just mentioned. And then I think okay, so when we finish with that, then let's also talk about the ending tags. You can see that all the other elements which we have mentioned, the head, the meta tags, the body, and so on, they have another tag that ends it, and that is called the ending tag. So we have what? The opening tag, and then the closing tag, or the starting tag and what? The ending tag. So the tag with the slash in it is called what? The ending tag, and the tag without the slash is called the starting tag. So all tags are always what? Enclosed with an ending tag, except the tags that we call them self-closing tags. For example, the meta tag here doesn't have an ending tag, but we'll talk about them later in this course. So with this brief introduction on tags, I think it is okay, and then we'll get into details later in this course. Now in this course, we are going to be talking about HTML attributes. Now, HTML attributes are used to add more information to our HTML element. It's like in English when we talk about adverbs and adjectives. So for HTML attributes, we want to add more meaning to our HTML element. Maybe we want to style it, we want to be able to identify it when we want to use it for certain functions. Okay, now when we take an HTML element like the body element, all attributes that can be found on an element are always supposed to be written in the what? The opening tag, and they are never found in a closing tag. And we have other elements that can be written on all tags, though they may not have effect on other tags, and they are called global attributes. Now let's start with some of the attributes. Now when we look at the meta tag here, no, let's look at the HTML tag here. We have an extension in it called lang, which specifies en, that stands for English, and the language of the document is what? English, and just the meaning, and this is called an attribute. And now an attribute has a value and a name. So the attribute name always appeared in the left and its value appeared in the right, and the value is assigned to the name using an equal sign, and the value must always be what? Enclosed in double quotes. Okay, so now we are going to explore about some of the attributes. Now we have just spoken about the lang attribute. I said the lang attribute is used to specify the language of our document, the language our document is going to be written on. Now, apart from the lang attribute, we also have the href attribute. Now, when we come here, we can have something like an attribute called href, and they are always present in architags. So I can say href, and then let me close it before. Good. So let me say google.com. Okay, so the href is an attribute that specifies a path to what? Another website or another web page, or a file inside what? Your directory. Now when you use the href and then you specify this, we have what? google.com. It means that whatever is going to be kept in between these brackets is going to be leading to what? Google. So you are going to paste the URL of Google inside these brackets, so that when you click on google.com, it will take you to that link. For example, let's say we want to put a link called www.google.com, okay, and save it. So when you come to our browser, and then we see that it has been highlighted as a link. So when we click on it, I'm not connected to the internet right now, but it was supposed to take us to Google. Okay. Right. So that is for the href attribute, and we also have the title attribute. Now the title also allows us to give a title to maybe an element. For example, when we take our href, our google.com, we can also add a title to it. Okay, we can also add a title attribute to it, so that we can add a title to that that element google.com, so that we can identify it by its title. So apart from the title attribute, we also have the style attribute, and the style attribute is used with CSS, so that we can add styles to our document. And so let me put the style attribute in the body here. Okay, so we have style. So after the style, we have the name called style, and its value is always a CSS value. Maybe we want to give it a color, so I will say, or let me say background color. Okay, background color, and we want to give it a gray color. Gray. Okay, so let's save it and open our browser. So when you open our browser, you can see that it has given the whole body what? A gray color. So the style attribute is used to add styles to our web page, and we can also edit the color too. So let's also specify the color. The color what will change the color of the content in it. So the color, we are going to give it blue color. Okay, right. So let's save and then load it on our browser. And you can see that all our texts are now written in blue color. When we change it to white, okay, so let me change it to white. Let me pick a color here. Okay, and then open. See that it has also changed our text to white. Okay, and that is the style attribute. And after the style attribute, we also have other attributes like the ID and the class attribute. And mostly the ID and the class attribute are used to give an identity to an element. So when we take this div tag or div element, I can give it an ID or a class. Okay, and anything I have given to it, maybe I want to call this an ID, and then I want to also call this a class. Okay, so anytime I want to use any of these two this element somewhere, maybe in my CSS or in my JavaScript code, then I must use this ID in order to identify this tag so that I can apply an effect to it directly. So that's just the purpose of the class attribute and the ID attribute. They are mostly used in CSS to target an element and style it, or they are used in JavaScript to target an element and put an effect or an action on it. And now I think that is all for HTML attributes, and then see you in the next course. Comments. What are HTML comments? In this course, we shall be looking at HTML comments. Now, HTML comments are text, phrases, or sentences inside an HTML5, but they are not usually rendered by a browser. So sometimes we use them to explain our browser, our code, or we want to make our code readable to other programmers so that when they are reading our code, they can make references to our comments and then they will understand what we are trying to do. So in HTML, how do you write a comment? A comment is always written with this tag. So you put your less than sign and then you bring an exclamation mark, then you add dots to it. What do you call it? Yeah. So you add the minus sign to it, the dashes, and to make it a comment. So anything we write here, let me say this is a comment. This is a comment. Okay, so anything written inside these brackets will not be rendered on the browser because the browser will read it as a comment. So we make good use of comments when we want to explain our code, or when we do anything and we try to maybe make reference to it so that any other person reading it, other programmers, when they are reading our code, it will be clear and then they will understand what we are doing. For example, I've added an ID to this class, so I can just comment that let me say, I can just say that the ID was added let's say the ID was added maybe for an explanation. Okay, explanation. Okay, so but keep in mind that your comments should always be brief, simple and short, so that it doesn't make your code look so ugly. So even as we make good use of comments so that they make our website more readable, sometimes comments can also make your code look so odd. So let's be careful when you're using comments so that it doesn't make our code look so dirty. So try to write short, brief and simple comments that will explain what you are doing. that is the end of this course. See you in the next course. So in this course, we will be talking about HTML styling. HTML styles are used to style HTML elements. It also means changing default value. So every element on our web page has a default value. For example, a paragraph. A paragraph will always leave one line into the next paragraph, and that is the default value. So we use CSS styling in HTML so that we can change the default values of our elements, and that is what we are going to explore here. For instance, styling can change the default value of a text color or block, background color or as white, text alignment as left or right, or justify the content. For example, so let's put some text inside our paragraph, and then we will apply some styling to it, and then we see. So this is our paragraph. So we have applied some text inside, and then let's render this on our browser and see how it will look like. Okay, let me toggle these windows so that we can see it very clear. Okay, so good. So now let's add some styles to it, and then we'll see how it will look like. So now we are going to add the attribute style as we learned earlier, okay, to this. So we are going to style it, and then we are going to add an alignment to it. So text align, okay, so let's align it to the right. Okay, and save. See that the text has been aligned to right, and that is CSS styling. So first of all, we are going to look at the three types of styling. In CSS, we have three types of styling. We have internal styling, we have external styling, and then we have inline styling. Now, for internal styling, we style all our HTML inside the head tag. So inside the head tag, we'll create a style element, and we'll write all our CSS code inside that element. So for example, we'll say style. Okay, so we're going to style. Okay, so we'll create a style element like this, and we are going to write all our CSS code inside this style. Now, so assume we want to set the let me say, what are we going to, let's say we are going to add a font size to our text. Okay, so let's specify the body, and we'll learn more about CSS in our next coming course, and that will be on CSS. So please just click on the notification bell so that immediately I upload that video, you have it at your doorsteps. So quickly go fast and hit the notification bell. Our CSS course is coming very soon. So by the way, let's continue with what we are doing here. So we are going to style the body. So I'm not going to explain much into this, but we are just specifying that we are styling the body. And now let me say, if assuming we wanted to style an ID or a class, so that we can specify an ID or a class to style it, then when it is a class, then we use dot, and then we write the name of the class. For example, if we are here, if we want to style the class, an element div with the class, we just have to say dot class. Okay, dot class. If this is an ID, then we have to use the hash sign. So we say dot hash what ID in order to style it with that ID. Okay, and this is how we style ID, and then we style a class. Okay, there we go. So now let's go back to our body element and style it. So inside our body, maybe we want to change the font size of the text. So we can type font size, and then we want to give it in pixel. And don't worry about pixel. We'll learn more about this in our CSS code. Pixel is just that every screen you are using, whether it is an Android screen or any screen that you are using, or any browser space that you are using, the space in it is divided into what? A very little minute piece called pixels, and it is measured, the width or the length of it is measured using these pixels. So we are going to specify the pixels. So let me say we are giving it 14 pixels. Okay, and we see that I change the font to 14 pixels. If you want it to look even more bigger, then we can change it to maybe 54 pixels, and let's see how it will look so big. So that is internal styling. So now, after internal styling, then we are going to also look at inline styling. So for inline styling, all that we have been doing, we have been using to style our element is called inline styling. So for inline styling, we always have to come into the element and specify style, and then you style it as we did here. So this is called inline styling. Though we have styled our element, but we didn't write it somewhere else. It has just been written inside the body element, and that is called inline styling. Now let's also talk about external styling. So for external styling, we have to create an external file called CSS file. So we'll come to our folder and create another file. So let's call it style.css. Okay, now, and we are going to link this CSS file into our HTML file, so that any code that we write on the CSS file, it can have effect on our HTML file. So okay, so how do we link it? And this is how we link it. Okay, so we want to link it. So you open your less than sign and type link, and the relative of that link is what? Style sheet. And the href, I told you we learned about href attributes, and I said it specify what? To another file or another page or another web page. So here we are going to give it the CSS, I mean the style, the CSS file here. Okay, style.css, or you can simply use the root to get it. Okay, sorry, I've even deleted my CSS file. Seriously. Okay, let's create it again, and it was called style.css. Okay, so let's come back and link it, style.css, and here we are. So anything you write on this CSS file, it will have an effect on our HTML document. So let's copy. Okay, let's go there and style our body and see. So here we are. So we are going to style our body again, and then the font size. Okay, and then let's give it 20 pixels and save. Okay, there's something wrong. Let me go back. So anytime you encounter a problem in your program, you have to undergo what we call debugging. Then you have to go to your code one after the other to analyze it to see where your problem is coming from. Okay, so let's test it once again. Okay, so let's go back to our HTML file, and then let me retype this link. Okay, okay, it has just come now. So you see that I've written all our styles here, but the effect is also affecting our document. So this is what we call external styling. I think we have done a lot for this course, and we'll do more about about styling in our CSS course. So for this course, I will say bye and see you in the next course. Now we are also going to talk about website responsiveness. Now every website we build will need it to be responsive on every device, because when you build a website on a particular device and it's being opened on a different device, the behavior is quite different, because the pixels or the amount of width you have specified to the content may not be the same as the other device, because assuming you have set the width of this background to, let's say, 200 pixels, but it's been opened on a device that doesn't have a pixel, a width up to 200 pixels, then what happened to our content? See that some of the content will be hidden, it won't be seen on that device. And that's why it's important to always set the responsiveness of your web page or your website on other devices. So how do we check for the responsiveness of a web page on other devices? So you simply have to, just after you launch it on your browser, after you launch your web page or your website on your browser, simply have to come and open the console by pressing F12, or you right click on the empty space and click inspect. Okay, so after you click on inspect, it will take you to the console, and now here you can select the kind of device you want to check on. You can have an iPhone, maybe a device with 5 pixels, Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. We can check iPad mini. So you see that we can check on any device to see how our website will be responsive on them. You see, so we have devices with different pixels, screen sizes, and we can check that. Okay, now that's it. And you can also select the percentage of pixels you want to use here. Okay, and that is for that. So if you just want to escape or want to go back to clear up the console, just press F12 and then you are back. So let me minimize it again. Okay, so now let's also look at another feature called centering. There's another element that is called center in HTML elements. Okay, center. And then what happens is that this element, we use it to put all our content on our web page in the middle. It will be aligned in the middle of our web page. So when I save this, you see that it has adjusted our content to the middle. But with modern CSS, we can apply text alignment and other things to our website or our web page. So centering your document is no more necessary. So this feature is now a cake. We don't use it anymore. So just forget about it and then concentrate on your CSS faults and learn more about CSS, so that you can rather use CSS to put all these functions to your web page instead of features like centering, because most modern browsers don't even support it anymore. So I think that is for this course, and then see you in the next course. Now in this course, we are going to talk about HTML headings. Now HTML headings usually contain a title or a main topic of a certain content. So when you take every content on your web page, it should have a heading for it that will summarize everything that contains in that content. For example, we have our google.com here. We can decide to give it a header. Assume we have a list of links, Google, YouTube, Facebook, like that. Then we can decide to give them heading. So let's call this our H1 heading. Okay, so we'll call this links. So these are our links. So we save it, so that see that I've given it a heading called links. Now these headings range from H1 to H6, and I'm going to go through them one by one so that you understand how you use them. Now when we take headings from H1 to H2, most developers do attempt to use them to specify the font size of a heading, which is very wrong, because we have CSS that we can use to style the font size, to increase or decrease the font size. So why should we be using headings to specify font sizes of headings? It's not important, and it's even wrong. So let's also look at other headings like H2, and you see the font size difference. So these are another links, and save. You see that one, the font size looks different, and because of this, most developers attempt to use them as to control font sizes of headings. Okay, let's save. See that the font size continue decreasing from H1 to H6. The font size is what decreases. So why do we even use them? Now let's get to the bottom of this. Now when we render our software or our application on a browser, the browser will attach importance to these headings. That determines which heading is more important than the other. For example, when we take link, the first link with the bold one with H1, then the browser will assume that this heading is more important than the H2 heading. For example, when you're in a school, you have the principal, and then the principal is the general overseer of the whole school. Now, when you go deep into the school, we have other units in the school with their heads, and then when we even have heads of various departments, and that we may assume for what H2. Now, when you go to H3, within those departments, you can have other leaders too, and they also assume as the H3 till we have what H6. And H6 is the last heading we can provide. Now, when you arrange these headings, browsers will assume that the H1 is the most important heading. That is the general overseer of your content. And then when you go to H2, the browser will also assume that maybe that is a section under H1. And that's how browsers would attach importance to headings. So be mindful on how you're using your headings, and then it will not cause any problem on rendering your software on a browser. So we also have H4, and then we have H5. Okay, and then we have H6. Okay, so let me save. You can see that they have been arranged with what decreasing font size. Okay, so that's all about headings in HTML. Then we can also style our headings. We can style them. We can give them different styles. So for example, when we come here, we can give it a color. So let's style this heading using our inline styling that we learned earlier in this course. So we have inline styling. So you're going to give it a color. Okay. So we are going to give it a color. Let's say red, and save. See that they have changed our heading to what red color. Okay, I hope you can see that. Yeah. So we can also style headings. Anything that we can do to text, you can also do to what to heading, to a paragraph, to a heading. It goes like that. So this what we have for headings, and then see you. Let's also look at HTML paragraphs. Paragraphs uses the the greater than symbol with P and then a less than symbol to what in the beginning. So the greater than symbol what encloses it, and then it also have an ending tag. For example, what we have here is a paragraph. We see that it has an ending tag and then an opening tag. So paragraphs are used to what to group sentences into what sections according to their meaning. So as we know, paragraphs in English, our daily English is the same way we use paragraphs in our web pages. So they are used to group what information or text into sections with their various what meanings. So for example, let's also create another paragraph. Okay. We also have another paragraph. You can create more paragraphs. Okay. Yeah, so we have so many paragraphs now. Let me save it. Okay, so you see that they are grouped into sections depending on their meaning. So these paragraphs are used to group content into sections. So but we can also style them. That we can change the default structure of the paragraph, the default styling, the default value in other words. So for example, the first paragraph we may give it, let's change the color of it. So we are going to style it using the inline styling. So we are going to change the color. We're going to change the color to blue. Okay, so let's save it. We have changed that to blue, and then the second one let's also change either the font size, the font weight, or the font family. So this one we are going to give it a font font size of, let's say, 15 pixel, and save it. Okay, see that you have what? Decrease the font size, but let's increase it a little bit. So let me take it to 25 pixels, and then it looks more bigger. Okay, so we can also what? Edit the last. We can also change the default value of the last paragraph. So let's also style that one to style. Then let's say we want to change maybe what are we changing here? Maybe let's make it bold. So we change the font to bold. Let's change the font to bold. Bold, and save. Okay, so you see that our text has been bolded. Okay, so that's all about paragraphs, and then see you in the next tutorial. HTML links. What are HTML links? HTML links are links or hyperlinks that we create on our web pages, that anytime we click on it, it either takes you to a different website or a different page. For example, let's create other pages within our website, and then we'll link them together using HTML links. So let's create more files here. So let's call this page 1. Okay, we save that, and then we're also going to create page 2. Page 2.html. As I told you earlier, every HTML file must have the extension .html. So let's link all these pages to our index page. So here we use the architect to link pages with the href element or attributes. Now, so let's specify the architect, and then with an href. So here we are going to link it to the page 1. So let's call this page 1. So we are going to call this page 1, okay, and save. So we have another link here called page 1. So let me delete the Google. Okay, the google.com is also another link. So let's go to page 1. Okay, so when you click on this one, it will take you to page 1. So now let's also put some content on page 1. Okay, so here we are. So we are going to call this page 1. Okay, now, and then let's also put another architect here to link to page 2. An href called page 2. And then we close it and call it. We are going to call this page 2 and save it. So let's also put some content in page 2. So let's call the title here page 2. Yes, we're going to say that this is page 2. Okay, so we save it. So now let's go back to our index.html page. So here we are. Okay, so let me go back there. So when you click on page 1, it should take you to page 2, and this page 1. So when you click on page 1, it is taking you to page 1 rather. So when you click on page 2, it now takes you to page 2, and in page 2 you say this is page 2. So this is what we call HTML links. We can use it to link to a different website or a different web page. For example, using the google.com, we are linking it to a different website called google.com, but the other links are linking us to pages within our own website. And this is how we link web pages together to create a complex website. So with HTML, we can also create links that can be opened on what new tab. For example, when I click on, let me go back and then show you something. So when I click on this page, if I want it to be open on a new tab, then I have to add the underscore blank future to what our link. So I will just come and add a future here. So I'll give it a target. Okay. So this target, I'm going to give it underscore blank. Okay, and save it. So you see that when you click on page 1, it's going to open a new tab. It is not on the same tab that we have earlier. See that this is the first tab, but it has created a new tab. So if you want to open another page or a link on a different tab, then you add this attribute called the target, and you specify it to the underscore blank, so that it will take it to a different tab for you to open it. And that is all about HTML links. Let's also talk about HTML line breaks. Now, an HTML line break produces a line break in a text. It is an empty element because it doesn't have a closing tag, so it is self-closing. So let's produce a piece of paragraphs here and apply line breaks to it. So I have my paragraph here. Okay, so this is my paragraph. So we are going to apply line breaks to this paragraph and see how it affects the paragraph. So someone may be wondering, how do I produce this text? So anytime you start on a VS Code to type the letter LOREM, it automatically generates a piece of paragraph for you. Maybe if you want to use it for tutorial or to test something, it automatically generates it for you, and that is the feature I'm using. So let's put our line breaks into it and see how it will affect it. So with the line break, this is how the syntax goes. So you press your less than symbol, then you press the letter BR in lowercase, then you bring a backslash. The backslash simply means it's a self-closing tag. You don't need to bring a closing tag into it. So then you bring your greater than symbol. So when we save this, you see that it has break the text from where we kept it to a new line. And that's how we apply line breaks. And we can put this effect on other parts of the text. So let's add another line break here. Okay, and save. It has break the text again. Another more line breaks, and see. Yeah, so and save. It has break the text continuously. So line breaks will break a text from where it continues to a different line. Okay, let's also talk about HTML horizontal rules. We use horizontal rules to draw a horizontal line across our web page. So for example, between the links and our paragraph, let's draw a horizontal line. So we'll say we'll use our less than symbol, and in this case we are going to use HR for horizontal rule. So it's also a self-closing tag, and save. So you see that it has drew a line across our web page. So as you can see, and this is the line. So but we can also put some styles to this line. We can give it a color. So let me give it a color. Let me give it some gold color. I want to give it a color gold. Okay, and save. Here it has turned it to gold. We can also specify a width for it. For example, let's also style it with a height. Let's give it a height of, let's say, 30 pixels, and save. You see that that's increased the height of the line. And this all about HTML horizontal line breaks and then horizontal rules. So see you in the next tutorial. Okay, let's also talk about HTML text formatting. In HTML text formatting, formatting text is very essential for websites. One of the uses is to help readers know the important parts of our web content easily. For example, when we bold a text, it simply means that there's an emphasis on that text for readers to be easily notify it. So some of the formatting syntaxes we'll be using are bold, italic, underline, small, big, strong, or quotes. So we can use all these features to format our text, and we even have more that I've kept in the link below. When you go to the comment section, you see the link to the cheat sheet, the note that we have prepared so far, so that you can try your hands on other syntax for text formatting. But for now, let's create a paragraph, and then we'll format the text in it, and then we'll see how the effect looks. Okay, now so let's start with the bold. So let's add the bold syntax here. So the bold syntax, will just use B with a closing tag, and the text here is going to be bold. So we save it. So see that we have bold text rightly here. See, this text is what has been bolded. And let's also talk about the italic. So we can also have the italic with this letter I, and it's also another it has a closing tag. So this italic, and save it. Okay, we have also created that text. We can also look at underline, and that one also uses U. So this is underline, and save it. Okay, so you can see that there's also underline that text, and we have other features that you can use, including we have strike through, we have encode, we have marked, we have strong, and we have emphasis. And all these you can read about them in the note in the description below. So just go to the course description and then have access to the note for yourself, so that you can try your hands on them and you know them at your fingertips. So apart from formatting the text, we can also add CSS styling to the text. For example, this bold text here, we can also decide to style it. Okay, so let's change the background color to, let's say, blue. Okay, so and save. See that the background color has been changed to blue. Then the italic too, we can also change the color to, let's say, the color should be, let's give it okay. See that it has also changed the color to the blue violet color. And this all for HTML text formatting. So see you in the next tutorial. Let's also talk about HTML block elements and inline elements. HTML, all elements we see in HTML, they are either block elements or inline elements. Now, an HTML block element is an element that creates a horizontal boundary block. So when you take a block element, all its content takes a new line. It doesn't go and add to a line that has already been existed. When you put a block element, it automatically takes a new line, and all its content has a horizontal boundary block. So what are examples of block elements? So when we take a page, a paragraph, for example, it is a block element. So when we put anything here, let's call this paragraph 1, and save. So when you have paragraph 2, here again, okay, paragraph 2, and save it, you see that it has taken a new line. It hasn't been added to the first text, and this is what we call block level elements. And now some of the block level elements are, we have paragraphs, we have headings, and we have divs. And there are so many. We can explore a lot of them in the note in our course description. So let's also look at inline elements. Now, inline elements do not take a new line. They add up to the existing line. An HTML inline element is an element that does not create its own horizontal boundary block, just like the opposite of the block elements. And let's also try some of the inline elements and see. So when we take span, okay, let's put some text here and save it. So let's create another span. So this is another span. Let me call this another. Okay, another span, and save it. See that it doesn't take a new line, it has added to the first line. And this is how inline elements behave. So we have spans, we have architects, as we use in creating links. Okay, so this is also another an inline element. And we also have images. Images are also inline elements. And that is all for block elements and inline elements. And so far you notice that block elements is just the opposite of inline elements. So all block elements takes up a new line, and they create a horizontal boundary block. But inline elements, they do not take a new line, they add up to the existing line, and that is just the difference. So the examples for block elements are paragraphs, we have divs, and we have header elements like h1 to h6. And the inline elements, an example is also the span, we have images and architects, and all these are also inline elements. So see you in the next tutorial. Okay, let's also talk about HTML sections. Now HTML sections are used to group content on your web page together. For example, they can be used to group text, headings, paragraphs, images, and others together. So when you group things into sections, it is more readable and easy to understand. For example, when you come to the course we just finished, the block elements and the inline elements, we can put them into sections. For example, so we call this a section, and then we'll come and we'll copy and paste. So let me cut and paste it here. So we can also have another section for this. So another section. So another section, and we can also paste that one there. So you see that we use sections to group content. So the first section has to deal with block level elements, and the second section has to deal with inline level elements. So that's all our sections. We simply use sections to group our content, and this content may include, as I told you earlier, we can have headings, we can have paragraphs, we can have images, we can have links that are being grouped into one section based on their description. Maybe your content is going to talk about different category of topics, and you can group those topics into sections using the section tag. And that is all for this course. This is the part 1 of the HTML course. Part 2 is coming very soon. So just go to the notification and then you hit the bell, so that when I upload it, you will see it quickly. Just maybe 2-3 days time, our next section will also be out. So this is section 1, all for section 1 of HTML. So because the video is getting longer, so you have to pause it like that and continue in section 2, so that we can easily have access to it. So thank you all. For those who have made it to this level, I will say congratulations to you all. Then we are going to make it together. So don't worry, this is just the beginning, and you're going to see more beautiful things in the future. In our future course, that's the part 2, we shall be talking about images, we shall be talking about creating forms, creating tables, and a whole lot, creating radio buttons, input elements, and so on. So just hit on the notification bell so that you will be alerted on time, so that you can still catch up with us. So thank you and goodbye.